This is Sean of SeanConrad.com, and I'm about to show you how to create your YouTube channel thumbnails for free. Let's go. I use image editing software called Figma. It's free, and let me take you to the website to show you what I'm talking about. Figma.com, and it's here. So there's a pricing model, but the starter version is free. It gives you 3 projects, but inside of projects, you can have unlimited files. So I can create a project called YouTube and create unlimited files for thumbnails, for whatever I want within the projects. Okay, so that's 3 times unlimited files. So let's jump into Figma and we'll start creating a thumbnail. So thumbnails are usually the size of the video you create. It should be the same size, so you don't have to worry about scaling your thumbnail up or scaling your thumbnail down. So my videos are usually 1920 by 1080. And in Figma, the way you create a new frame is you hit either the A key or the F key for frame, and that gives you the ability to create the size of your thumbnail. So I hit the F key and I start to draw this out. Now you can see down at the bottom of this rectangle, they have the pixels right there. So I can drag until I hit my 1920 by 1080, but I can let go right now and then I can put in the width right here, 1920, and then I can tab over and type in 1080. Okay, so I hit enter. And now I have my rectangle. And in Figma, the way I look at everything that's in this palette, I do Shift 1, and that'll get everything. If I had 2 of these in here, and I do Shift 1, it'll get everything that's in this particular palette. Okay? If I just wanted to look at this one, I do Shift 2, and it zooms me into this. So we can get rid of this for now, and we'll just focus on this one, Shift 1. And now it's in the middle. Typically, after you create your YouTube video, you'll find a frame or a still that looks good that you want to use for your thumbnail. And you'll take that frame, you'll put it in here, and then you'll add your title right to this thumbnail. So I'll get a thumbnail, a still that I grabbed from the video that I shot. And the way you do that is in Figma, you do Shift Command K, and it lets you go out and grab images. So I'll do this right here. And wherever you click, that's where it allows you to put the image. So here it is. So now in here, you can see I clicked on the image and it's right here. And then this is the frame we created. 1920 by 1080. 1920 by 1080. So this is the frame. This is the image. So I want to get my image. I click on image and I want to drag that so it fits in there perfectly. Okay? So now with this image, there's several things I can do. In Figma, you can click here. And you see it says image. When I click on that, I can actually play with the exposure. I can make it brighter. I can play with the contrast and all these things right here. I typically don't really touch this because unless you're a professional photographer and you're used to doing like color correction and things like that, I wouldn't really mess with it. If your video is good, if you were happy with the lighting of your video, when you take a frame still like this, you should be happy with that as well. Okay, but if you want, that's how you edit and adjust the image saturation, contrast, exposure, brightness, and things like that. So now let's put some letters on this thing. So as you can see, I left space purposely to add some lettering right here, and I'll show you how you do it. Okay, so in your frame, you can hit the T key for text, okay? And then you can tap where you want to start typing. And this is going to be called how. And you can see it's small. So what I can do is click outside of the text, hold the Z key to zoom in, like that. Now I highlight this text and I want to make the font size a lot bigger. So I can use the up arrows to do it like this, or I can hold shift and it will increase by larger increments. Right now it's increasing by 8. Okay. To zoom in and zoom out, you hit the minus key. To zoom out, to zoom in, you hit the plus key. And then I can hold the space bar and drag it to the middle. And like I said, if I wanted all of this in my sight, I can do shift 1. Okay, so now let's name this. Okay, so how to create a YouTube channel thumbnail. Okay, all right, so now I can have all of this be on this side, and I can still increase the text. Hold shift, the up arrow, and I can make this bigger. Okay, so this is how you start to get it in place. And this frame here, I can make it a little wider so I can get more words on one line, and I can start adjusting it like this. Okay, now you're probably thinking, well, these letters are not jumping off nicely, you know, like off of the background, so it's a little hard to read in certain places. So one thing you can do is change the color of the letters right here. So if you drag around, you see how you can change colors, and you can go through the whole color spectrum here. Okay, now I like to use bright colors when I do thumbnails, so I kind of start with white if it's a darker background like this, and I go from here. Now what about if this is not the font that you like? You can go right here and it shows you all these different font faces that you can try. Okay, so we have all these font faces. For this video, I'm going to use a font face called Babus New. Okay, and here again, sometimes fonts, because the letters are closer or more narrow, they don't take up as much space. So now I can make this bigger. Again, I'm going to hold shift and use the up arrow. Okay, so here's where you do the color. You can click here and you can click in here and see what colors you like to use. There's also a bar down here that allows you to go through all these colors. You can see this color right here almost matches my couch in the background. You can check to see what works. Another thing you can do with Figma is you can hit this. It's called a dropper, and it lets you sample anything that's in the image. So you can do that. And now it has the color of my shirt in there. And you can then adjust this, brighten it up, okay, to make it pop off more or go darker. Okay, but it's all in the color family of my shirt. So that's some cool things you can do. Now, let's close this for a second. Let's work with this here. So you want to adjust this so it takes up a good space, a good empty space, so it's not covering your face and your letters are large and clear. Because remember, this has to show up on cell phones, on tablets, and on cell phones, you don't want your letters being so small that no one can see them anymore. So keep that in mind. You want your letters to be large, okay? Now, I can hit the K key and scale this up so it fills up more space. I'm going to move this here. All right, so now the L goes like kind of right up to my ear. I'm just going to go a little less than that. All right, and it fills this space nicely. Okay, So I'm going to hit the V key just to get out of scale mode. When you hit the K key and to know you're in scale mode, it has 2 arrows on here. And that's how you know you're in scale mode. When I hit the V key, it just has 1 arrow. Okay, so that's how you know you're back to selection mode where you can drag this around. Okay, so now we have how to create a YouTube channel thumbnail. All right, we're doing good. Sometimes you may want to grab an image of the YouTube logo. So you can go to your browser here and we can go to a new tab and we can do YouTube logo. And if we hit images here, we'll see a whole bunch of images for the YouTube logo. So you may want to grab something like this. And this is a PNG, which means the background is transparent. So I'm going to copy this. Sometimes people post this and the background is not really transparent. So I'm going to copy this, right click, copy image, and see. Go back to Figma. And I'm going to paste this in to see if this is really transparent. So when I pasted it in, it filled up the whole frame. So what I'm going to do is undo that. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit the minus key and just paste this YouTube image that I copied somewhere here. Okay, so let me drag this out of the way. Remember, I hit the minus key to look at a bigger space, and I'm going to make this smaller. Now, if you don't hold shift, it'll distort the proportions of the image. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to hold shift and now drag from a corner, and it keeps the proportion, the correct proportion of the image. Okay, so now I'm going to do shift 1, get a little closer, and I want to place this somewhere. I'm going to hold shift again and make this even a little smaller. Okay, so maybe I'm going to go a little smaller like this. You can add backgrounds in Figma. You can come up with a way to make the text pop off the screen so it can be seen really well. For example, YouTube channel, right? I can hit R to make a rectangle and do something like this. Okay, now to put this in the background, I can go here, my layers, and I can put this beneath my text like that. And the color of this rectangle, I can change here. So I can hit this, I can hit the dropper and use the exact color of the YouTube logo. So now that's making YouTube channel pop up and look really clear and really nice. So now I'm going to take this rectangle and I'm going to hit the arrow and just move it over a little bit off of my head. Okay, just so my ears and my head is in the clear. I'm also going to take the text, click on the text. You can click on it here or click on it here. And I'm going to make that a little smaller as well. Okay, because I want it to fit in the rectangle really nice. So now I'm going to click the text and I'm just going to arrow it down. And you see here the Y has a certain amount of space before it hits the edge, but this L looks like it has a little more space before it hits the edge. So I'm just going to nudge the text to the right so it's evenly balanced in that red bar that I created. Also, if you look at the top, above the letters, it has a slim space. Below the letters, it has a kind of a bigger space. I know it's hard to see, but you want to be precise so things look clean and professional. So I'm just nudging that down with the arrow key. Okay? All right. So maybe I can make these letters white instead of that light pinkish off the color of my shirt. So I click on the letters again, or you can click here. Here's the color, and I can make that white. Or I can sample whatever color this might be. It looks like it's white. Sample that, and it'll make my letters the same color. Okay? So in certain cases, like This is a button. You can make this button kind of pop off the screen by giving it an effect. So when you hit effect, this adds a drop shadow. And a drop shadow puts a dark shadow behind your object. So if I hit this, I can increase what's happening behind. And you can see this right here. There's a dark shadow. I'm going to make it a little darker. I'm going to hold shift, hit my up arrow so I jump in big increments. But I want to make this like it's a button. So I'm just going to make that a little darker so people can see it. And then here, this Y axis, I'm just going to lower this number so it's a little closer to the red. So you can see it's getting closer to the red. The blur, I'm going to make that number bigger and you can see that dark background spread out. And now this image, this icon is kind of off the image. So it looks like you can press it. So that's one thing you can do with the drop shadow. You can do it on text as well, but I don't believe we need to put a drop shadow on this text here. I believe that the white is popping off the background nicely. I believe that the YouTube channel is loud. It's very clear what you're looking at. It's highlighting a certain part that I want really highlighted, that I want people to catch very quickly. And thumbnail, maybe I can do something with thumbnail because that's important here. So I think what I'm gonna do is make thumbnail a little bigger because that's the important part of this video. This video is going to show how to create thumbnails. So I want to add some importance to that. So I can make this, just that word, bigger. And I'll fix the button, but I want to make this bigger because this is like really important. Okay? All right, so I made that bigger. I'm going to click on this logo image, and I'm going to drag it out the way. So maybe this can be somewhere else. Maybe this can be here, between my hands. And now maybe I have room to even make this a little bigger because this is about making thumbnails, not the YouTube channel. I highlighted YouTube channel so it catches people's eye and they know they're at the right place. But this is about thumbnails. How to create a YouTube channel thumbnail. That's the important part, right? So I make that bigger. I'll make that bigger. And maybe this just gets smaller. So I can hold shift and drag this from this side. And maybe this sits here. Maybe this sits here. So now I can hold shift. I have this selected. I can hold shift. Also click my letters. And now all of these are selected. You can see it here. The image and the word. Now if I hit K, my scale key, it has the two arrows. I can make this all just a little smaller and center it even better. And I actually should have grabbed the bar, but I'll fix that after. So now this is starting to feel even better. Just so the letters are not feeling like they're battling for space with the image of me and things like that. So now to make this red bar smaller, I'm going to hit the V key just to go back to the regular selection tool. And I'm going to do this. Just make that come in a little bit. And you can do things like bring this to the edge, you know, so these two line up. But I think that this is better. I think it's better to do it like that. All right. So kind of look at this stuff. Sometimes you could look at it too long and it'll make you crazy. But I'm going to move this over. I'm holding shift and hitting my left arrow. And I'm going to go up a little bit. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm looking at right up here, the distance from the top of these letters to the top of the frame and the distance from the side of the letter to the side of the frame. I want that to be close, fairly even. So I hit image, my letters, my rectangle, I don't want to move this one. This is the thumbnail of me. I don't want to move that. So I'm going to move this to the right a little bit. And I'm going to go up a little bit. Now that's working. Now if I hit Shift 1 to make this large and put it in the middle to fill up the screen, this is how the thumbnail looks. Okay? So that's a simple way to create your thumbnail. And now you can double click here and rename this YouTube thumbnail. Okay, and then from here what you do, you hit export. So now I'm going to export this. All right, and if you look down here, when you click on export, it gives you some options. PNG, that would mean it would have a transparent background, but I don't need a transparent background outside of this. So I'm going to do JPEG, and that means there is no transparent background. You just get all of this. Okay, PNG would work too, but I'm going to do JPEG, and I'm going to export this to my desktop. Click here on desktop, and I'm going to put YouTube thumbnail, and I'll just add final. Okay, so I can find it. And this is what we have. So now, if I go to my desktop, and I click on YouTube thumbnail final, there's the export of it. All right, so that's going to show up really nice when you create your thumbnails, and all this for free. You didn't have to pay for software. You didn't have to pay somebody else to do this for you. This is something that you can do yourself, and it can look really professional. And remember to pay attention to how far things are from the left and the top. Okay, when things are in a corner, this should be even with this as much as you can. Okay, and then you can make things big that really highlight the purpose of the video. Okay, so I'm going to close this and I'll show you how we add it on YouTube. So here, so you created your video, you uploaded it, and right here it says upload thumbnail. You click on this. Here's my YouTube thumbnail final. Okay, I hit enter and it places it right there. So now, when I hit save, this will be the thumbnail for my video. So there it is. The thumbnail's right here. It looks professional. It's better than having a bunch of words on the screen or whatever else is in this video. You have your thumbnail right here, and people can see this from far away. They know what it's about, and they want to click on this because it looks professional. It looks like you know what you're doing. Okay? You hit save, and that's it. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. This is Sean Conrad, and I'm out.